tell us a little bit about how you run your flasher flies, if you could.
Yeah, not a problem. That so hey, here's 20 minutes. Tell us all about flasher fly.
Yeah, tell us all about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it takes you a lifetime to even really kind of figure out a program at all, but I'll do my best. But first, thanks guys for having me on. I do appreciate it. I'm honored to be on here with all these other captains and business owners. You got a great group here. I am absolutely humbled to even be part of this thing. So thank you. But we're going to start off here with flasher fly. I mean, where do you want to go here? So I thought about this. How do I really want to do this? So I just thought I'd break it down to 6 different colors that if you're just starting out and you're trying to put together a flasher fly program, these are the 6 patterns along with some flies that I would absolutely recommend to have on the boat. These are ones that have performed for me very well over the years and other captains that I know. And the flies that I'll show you are all mix and match capable. So it's not like I'm going to show you one thing and you got to match it up with the exact fly I'm telling you. Any one of these 5 flies I'm going to show you, you can throw it on any one of these flashers. Is that all making sense so far, Chris?
Absolutely.
Okay,
we're going to let you keep going.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So let's start right here. Big paddles. If you're not running a big paddle on the boat, you absolutely should be. Whether or not this thing is putting fish in the boat for you, I 100% believe that this thing in your spread, typically on your deepest presentation, for me, it's almost always my center downrigger. If this thing's not at least catching fish, it's bringing fish into the boat. So if you're not running an 11-inch paddle, run one. Start right there with 2 of my favorite colors. All day, every day. These are all Dreamweaver products. This is the double pearl, also known as the double slick. This thing will work for you sunny days, cloudy days, rainy days, you name it. This thing is going to put fish in the boat. I'll switch it over to the black blade, same double pearl, but I'll switch over to the black blade on we have sometimes, a darker day, cloudy day, foggy day, rainy day. Seems to be on those darker overcast days, the black blade does a little bit better for you. And these things you can run, like I said, you can run them deep, you can run them shallow. Typically, like I said already, this is on my deepest presentation. This thing is normally sitting right in the morning, right at my thermocline, maybe 10 to 20 feet below it. Then as the day goes on, I'm dropping this thing down deeper and deeper and deeper to get that later day bite for you. Great big presentation, puts a lot of ripple on the water, a lot of sound, a lot of noise, a lot of commotion. It's going to put fish in the boat. And I'll talk about the flies at the end here, Chris, if that's all right with you. I'll go over what colors I'm going to pick out for these things. We good?
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
I knew you'd have a plan, so I'm like, I'll just let Chris go.
I don't mean to, yeah, just let me babble on for hours. Why not? I do it every Sunday on the YouTube channel. So here's one other color I'm going to throw out there in the big paddle. This is the color that Dreamweaver came out with last year called Charlie Special. I don't have it in the 11-inch, but they do have it in the flip fin. This thing I started running last year, right when they put it out. And I found on sunny days or even on dark days, running this thing down, I don't typically like to run that color pattern much more than 78 or 80 feet. Seems to really produce a lot better up there. But I know boats around here, this pattern's been around for a long time. But I know this thing has put tons of fish for a lot of really good tournament boats over the years. So 3 color patterns you got to have on the big paddles: black and the white and the pearl and the Charlie Special. Put those in the boat, you're going to catch a few more fish. Guaranteed, not guaranteed, but they're going to get some fish for you. So we'll start into some spin doctors now. Here's 5 of my favorites, rather, that have absolutely produced wonderfully over the years. Probably the mother of them all, the Kevin's Girlfriend. Everybody knows about Kevin's Girlfriend. Everybody probably knows the backstory on why it's named Kevin's Girlfriend. If you don't, you email me and I'll tell it to you. I don't want to say it on here. But that thing right there is, I remember one year we put 3 fish over 30 pounds. This is just a couple years ago. We put 3 fish over 30 pounds in the boat. That thing took 2 of them. 2 of them with a Riverside fly or a pickled sunshine fly. But I have a love-hate relationship with this thing, Chris. I swear to God, this thing will break up with me from time to time and just not put a fish in the boat. So last year, I actually put this thing in the box and only ran it a couple. Maybe I even ran it one time. I don't remember it, but it was very, very few. But this thing will, regardless, this thing's going to put fish in the boat for you, and it typically puts really big fish in the boat. We'll move on to another absolute staple. I already talked about this color. These are all an 8-inch 8-inch spin doctors, except for one. I got a 10-inch. But these are all going to be 8 inches. 8 inches are typically what I like to run more on my flies. 10-inch spin doctors, I tend to run more with meat rigs. So don't be afraid, though, to mix and match. If you want to run some flies on some 10-inch spin doctors, hey, have at it. There's days it's probably going to produce for you just as well as the 8-inch. But 8-inch double pearl, that thing's on one of my lines all day, almost every day. And like I said earlier, these are typically on my downrigger, my deepest downrigger. My favorite presentations for the rest of these is typically on my divers. Typically on my high divers, I'm running flash or fly. Might be on all 4 of my divers, I'm running flash or fly. But it's typically high divers, 2 flash or flies are out. Now my low divers, I'm running meat rigs on my 10-inch spin doctors. But this thing, you can run it on coppers too. You can run it on lead core. You can run it on your riggers, on your, you name it. You can run it anywhere. But that thing, if you're not running that double pearl 8-inch with one of these flies I'm going to mention, you're missing the boat. That thing has probably produced more fish for me over the years as far as any other flasher than anything else. Here's its brother right here. And this one's great early morning, white blade, but this has got the white crush on it versus the white pearl. You can definitely see the difference. This one glows a little longer and a little brighter. So early morning, I mean, if you're out there at the crack, you know what, at dawn, like a lot of guys are, you know, you get them out there at 3:30 to beat the traffic. Get one of these white crush 8-inch spin doctors out there with one of these flies, especially with one of these flies that has a lot of glow in it or a lot of glow beads in it. That thing will definitely produce for you in those low light hours. Moving on, the 8-inch double pearl black blade. It's just like that one. That one's actually a 10-inch. That's an 8-inch. Same reasons I said before. Bright sunny days. That thing right there is going to produce for you. This one will also in the bright sunny days, but that black blade, just like that one on your darker, foggier days, your cloudy days, whatever, seems to pick up a few more fish. You know, the old saying, bright day, bright color, dark day, dark colors. It's true. I don't know why it's true, but it is. Last but not least here, and then I'm going to go over the flies. Now, we'll talk a little bit about, excuse me, a little bit about leader length and what I typically run. But the Dragon Slayer, that thing right there has been an absolute staple on Lake Michigan. And what's that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I thought I heard
we got people around us, so you may just have heard them.
Yeah, no problem. I know there's other Great Lakes other than Lake Michigan. I can't remember the names of them, but that thing on Lake Michigan has been so good for so long. Don't overlook that thing, not only with a fly on there, but also with a meat rig on that thing. Absolutely deadly. You guys got any questions on the flasher before I get into the flies?
Yeah, Chris, just tell us a little bit about what these do as far as action. What do they do to add that attraction to your fly?
Yeah, great question, Chris. I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because one of the common questions that I get, if you look on that spin doctor, there's 2 holes up on the front and there's 2 holes on the back, one by the fins and one away from the fins. So always run this thing on the front hole. I don't know. I think on the back hole, you're going to get a little larger rotation, a little larger loop in the water. And then back here by the fins is going to give you a little more action on your fly. And what these things do, it's just that they're pulled through the water. Obviously, this is a trolling presentation. As they're going through the water, they're cutting through and they're making great big loops as they go through. But what that's doing to your fly, which is trailing behind here on this double swivel. I love Dreamweaver because they put double swivels on these things. Before, you know, you'd have to tie a loop knot in your fly and then you'd have to thread it through the swivel itself in like a half hitch. These double swivels work so well. But anyway, back on subject. Obviously, they're pulling the fly through the water. The longer the lead on your fly, the less action you're going to get. Just makes sense. The shorter the lead, or the faster your boat's going, the more action you're going to get on your fly. So in a nutshell, that's just it. It's just making big loops, making your fly dance a little. Any other questions on those, Chris?
Craig, do you have anything?
You know, I just think it's super interesting to see, you know, what combinations and how big that tape can make a big difference on light conditions. And I think, you know, as fishermen, those minor details, everybody can buy this stuff and everybody can have this stuff. It's when and where. And I think that's what I love about this is, you know, somebody with that experience is telling us, hey, if you're out there at 3:30 in the morning, that light is low, we got to go with crackle tape. I mean, to me, white is white is white. But now I'm looking at this and going, holy cow, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
The devil's in the details.
there's a million colors out there, guys. You guys know this as well as I do. There's a million colors out there, and every one of them is probably going to catch a fish for you. But you guys know this: the devil's in the small details, and it's those little things that might put that extra 2 or 3 fish in the boat for you at the end of the day. And that's one of the things you try to pay attention to. You know, luckily I just stumble dumbly into some things sometimes that tend to work, and I tend to remember those things. So so small things like that, like you were saying, though, exactly.
Let's get into some flies. What do you like for flies, Chris?
Yeah, let's do it. So, like I said, these are all mix and match, Chris. I hear so many people talk about trying to match color to color, flashers to flies. And honestly, in my experience, you get a combination that works, just stick with it. It could be completely different colors, but some combinations just work better than others. So I think the mother of all flies, or the two mother of all flies, are right there. Pickled Sunshine, Dreamweaver product, tube fly, which means it's tied on a tube. KRW Riverside fly. These two are essentially the exact same fly. And these two would probably put more fish in the boat than any other fly out there on Lake Michigan. That's all I can talk about is Lake Michigan. I don't have much experience on other lakes, Great Lakes, that is. Big difference is Riverside, bullet head. Like I said, the Dreamweaver has got a tied tube on there. So another question I get on these Dreamweaver flies is, how do I run this thing? Do I run it with the thread showing, or do I run it the proper way with the thread underneath? And I myself, and about everybody else I know, run it with the thread out. I think you're going to get more hits that way. So those are my two number one flies right there. KRW Riverside, Dreamweaver Pickled Sunshine. If you don't have any other flies on the boat and you only have those two, you're going to be fine. You're going to catch fish. Here's a fly that KRW just came out with just last year. You can check out KRW flies at krwflies.com. All the Dreamweaver products, dreamweaverlures.com. Check them all out there. Actually, this fly came out 2 years ago. That is the KRW Blue-Green Dolphin. And when that thing first came out and they got it in my hands, the first trip out, that thing outperformed all my other flies almost 2-to-1 on that one day. So absolutely fell in love with that thing instantly. And it hasn't left some of my gear since that time. Next one on my list, I just got into last year. It's a newer fly from KRW. That is the Money Shot. Fell in love with that thing as well. I had some of these Money Shots on the boat last year. Probably had 6 or 7 pieces of tinsel left on them. They got hit so many times. And they were still getting hit. They're just getting destroyed. And every time I broke one of those off or lost one somehow, I about cried. Because there's something about those mangled flies that just seem to absolutely take fish. But that Money Shot right there, I can tell you from my experience, other boats' experience, tournament boats have switched to a lot of these Money Shots, and the Blue-Green Dolphin, absolute destroyer on Kings right there. Coho love them too. Lake Trout love them too. And the last one I'm going to show you, KRW Aqua Gold Glow. This might be the first fly I ever had way back in the day. And have never turned my back on this thing. This thing has absolutely put fish in the boat for me so many times over the years. And one thing you can see about the KRW flies, they are all bullet head flies. So there's never any doubt which way you want to run these things. So we don't want to talk about leader length. We'll touch on that real quick because that's a common question that I get as well. Leader length for me on flies, I keep it really simple. I used to stress over this way too daggone much, Chris. I used to sit there with a ruler down in my basement. I had a ruler on my boat, and I'd get my flies exactly like 23 3/8, whatever. What I went to over the past years was when I would grab an 8-inch spin doctor, I would grab my fly, put the fly in my hand, or put the hook rather in my hand, and I stretched the leader out to right here at the top of my shoulder. And I measured that one. I'm 6 feet tall. I measured that one day, and it came out to almost about 24 inches. So that is the leader length for me for my 8-inch spin doctors and flies. If I'm doing 10-inch spin doctors or 10-inch flashers with a fly, it's hook in my hand, leader length out to the middle of my sternum. If I'm running flies, I'm always running flies off these big paddles. But big paddles for me, I found that longer is better on these things. So it's sternum to the floor for me. So when that hook touches the floor and I touch it here to my sternum, that's my length on the big flashers. But don't be afraid. Especially on these big flashers, don't be afraid to stretch your leaders out. If you're going to ask, because I always ask this, how do I know when I do that? People are always saying, hey, don't be afraid to do this. You know, the fish might like that. Well, how the heck do you know when to do that? That was always the question that I had. And really, it boiled down to is if I got this thing in the water and it's been 2 hours that it hasn't taken a bite, something's wrong. And if I know that I got my speed right, I got my depth right, everything's right on my fish hawk, depth temp's looking good, I'm not in a cross current, something else is going wrong down there. So there's lots of days, those big kings, they want a much longer lead. So I've stretched these big paddle links out to over 6 feet before, and they've taken fish. I'll do that also with my 8-inch, my 10-inch spin doctors, my flip fins. There's days I got those things out 35, 36 inches. Some days that lazy attitude in that fly, that's just what those fish want on that certain day. Maybe they got full bellies. You know, they've been eating on alewives all weekend long, and they just want something that's a little easier for them to grab. They're like us. You know, if there's a piece of pizza sitting there within reach, you know, we're not going to put too much effort into it, but we might grab it there and take a bite out of it. So don't be afraid to lengthen out your leaders if you're not getting bit on your flashers.
So what you're really saying is the bigger the paddle, the longer the lead.
Yeah, exactly right.
Talk to me a little bit about speeds. You brought that up a little bit. What's the speed you're typically running when you're running these flasher flies?
Yeah, I'm pretty much a slow goer, Chris. You've been on my boat. I think you probably saw that. I'm a 2.0 to 2.2 kind of guy. In the morning, I might even be down 1.9 to 2.0. I just like that slower speed. You don't cover as much water. You're not crossing over as many fish, but I think you're going to make up the dividends on the bites that you get. You're going to get the bigger fish as well on those slower speeds.
Awesome. Craig, any questions?
You know, just one last question. What pound test are you running on those leaders? We just talked about length, but if a guy's going to go tie his own and put his beads on and run some hooks, just tell us a little bit more about the pound test we running.
Craig, that's a great question. That's one that goes back and forth in debate all the time. You know, do I want to run mono? Do I want to run fluoro? These all come with the KRWs. I know. I'm pretty sure the Dreamweaver do as well. I think they're all 50-pound big game right out of the package, and that's going to do you just fine. Just 50 pounds straight up mono big game. I've experimented around on going down to lighter leaders, like down to 35-pound. The lighter I go, typically I get down to the fluorocarbon. I like the whip a little more in those lighter lines with the fluorocarbon. It doesn't mean to say you can't still run just regular old mono if you don't want to spend the extra money on the fluoro.
Very good, Chris.
Absolutely, right down the alley.
Yeah, great stuff, Chris. Anything that you wanted to say that we didn't ask you about, you wanted to bring up before we let you go?
No, just, hey, thanks for having me on. Chris, you're welcome back to come on the boat here again this year if you want to.
I would love to do that. We had a great time with you in August this year. Had an awesome crew of guys that went out with us, and it was a really, really fun time. So I appreciate that. And
yeah, one of my favorite days all year long for sure. That same group is coming back in August. I'll get with you. I'll get you an invite back out. You're definitely welcome back.
Yeah, that would be awesome. It was just fun hanging out with the guys, and went and had lunch. You had to run. You didn't get to have lunch with us, but it was just a really fun lunch too with you or with Tim and the guys, and it was a good time. So awesome, Chris. Well, we appreciate you. And again, if people want to reach out to you, find out more about you, they can do it on your YouTube channel. It's Tangled Tackle. TangledTackleCompany.com is the website. Want to go fishing with Chris out of Manistee, you can go darkbluecharters.com. And if it's anything like the day I was with you, make sure that you eat your Wheaties before you go see Chris.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Love it.